Hola estudiantes! Today we're going to talk about the verb ser. Now you've used ser in class, but you haven't known that that's what you were using. So let's go ahead and talk about what we do to use the verb ser. The verb ser means to be in English. You already used forms of this verb in class. You have said things like yo soy de Estados Unidos, which means I am from the U.S. You've said hoy es el 14 de marzo, which means today is March 14th. Notice that we used forms of the verb ser. This does not say ser, and this is not ser. They're forms of this verb ser. You need to conjugate the verbs, which means change them when you want to create a sentence. So these forms, soy and es, come from this verb ser. This means to be, this means I am, and this means it is. So conjugation is simply changing a verb to match a subject. The forms of the verb ser are on the next slide. Again, ser equals to be. The conjugations for the verb ser are in the chart below. Memorize them as soon as possible. The first form is soy. The second form is eres. The third form is es. These are all singular. This side is plural. We have somos and we have son. This chart's a little more detailed, so you'll need to make sure that you have your note guide with you and a pencil. It's also a good idea to always have your textbook with you when you're watching the videos as well. Okay, so let's look at the first one. In part A of your note guide, it says to write the correct form of ser next to each subject pronoun in the chart and what it means in English. So notice we've already learned that yo means I. Now we know that yo soy means I am. So please fill in the chart on your note guide where it says yo. You'll write in the blank next to that soy. And then across from that it says I, and you'll write am. So complete the chart. For the first blank on each of those, you're going to write the red form of the verb ser, and the second part you'll write the black English meaning for the verb. Okay? So for example, again, for tú, next to that, on the note guide in the blank, you'll write eres. Then it says you, and you want to write are in the blank next to that, because tú eres means you are. Please pause the video and finish the chart. Okay, also we have usted es, which means you are, él es, which means he is, ella es, which means she is. These are all singular. Notice there's only one person. I talk about myself, that's one person. I'm talking to you, you are one person. You formal is still one person, and he is, she is one. Let's go to the plural side of the chart. Nosotros somos means we are, if this is all a group of boys or a group of boys and girls. Nosotras somos means we are as well, but this would have to be a group of girls. Down here we have ustedes son, which means you all are. This is their plural, you guys. And then ellos and ellas son means they are. I apologize here. This should say ellas instead of ellos. So it should be E-L-L-A-S instead of E-L-L-O-S. So notice that on your note guide it says ellas. All right, notice that the form of the verb ser depends on the subject given. So for example, if you have ellos as your subject, you need to use the form of the verb ser. It needs to be son. Okay, if yo is your subject, then you're changing ser to soy, I am. Memorize which forms go with each subject as soon as possible. Okay, pause the video at this time and complete part B of your note guide. It says to use page 13 for a list of countries and write the sentences below in Spanish. I'll help you with the first one. We know that I is yo. The form of ser we need to say I am would be soy, so you need to write yo soy. And remember that from the U.S. is de Estados Unidos. So for number one, you should have yo soy de Estados Unidos. Pause the video and finish the rest. Subject pronouns are often omitted or left out in Spanish. However, we will use them to begin with so that you become familiar with them and which ones go with which forms of ser. Let me explain a little bit better. In our practice exercises here, for example, you want to match this subject pronoun with the correct form of ser in the blank. Okay? So because we see yo, we know we need to use soy. Yo soy bajo means I am short. Now, omitting the subject pronoun is very common in Spanish, which means they won't use the yo. They'll just say soy bajo. That is also accurate. However, we need to use them so that we know which ones to match them up with. So for right now, make sure you're saying yo soy bajo instead of soy bajo. All right, let's see if we can finish the rest of these. Which form of the verb ser do we need if we see él? Use your verb chart on your note guide. Look to see which one matches up. Okay? The right answer is es. So él es mi amigo means he is my friend. Let's look at número tres. We have the subject pronoun tú. So we need to figure out which form of ser we need that matches tú. Tú eres trabajadora means you are hardworking. So you should have used the form of ser eres in the blank. Okay? Número cuatro says nosotros. So we need to find in our chart which form of the verb ser matches nosotros. The correct answer is somos. Therefore, nosotros somos altos means we are tall. Número cinco says ellos. We need to choose the correct form of ser to go in the blank. The correct form is son. Ellos son rubios. Número seis, Juanita. Juanita is like saying she. So we have to decide, because Juanita is a girl, a pronoun we would use to replace her would be ella. So you want to match up the form of ser that goes with ella. The correct answer is es. So Juanita es morena means that Juanita is brunette. Move on to número siete. Pedro y Eva. So we have two people. Pedro is a boy, Eva is a girl. If we used a pronoun to replace them, we would need to go with they, because Pedro and Eva is like saying they. So we have a boy and we have a girl. When we have a mixed group, we have to go with the masculine form. So make sure that you would use ellos with this one. And you need to match up which form of the verb ser to use with ellos. The correct answer is son. So you should put Pedro y Eva son amigos, which means Pedro and Eva are friends. Okay, last one. Número ocho. Eva y yo. It's like saying Eva and I. That would be we. So, if I'm a girl, I would think nosotras. And if I'm a boy, I would think nosotros. Either way, we know that the correct form of the verb ser is somos. Eva and I are funny. Somos cómicos. Okay, let's do a little practice here, a little bit more. Ser, to be. ¿Cómo se dice? How do you say, I am from the United States? We know the best way to say this is yo soy de Estados Unidos. We're using a form of ser here, right? We said soy. Look at dos. She is the Spanish teacher. You know, she is ella. Es would be the correct form of the verb. Ella es. And then the Spanish teacher, because she's a girl, would be la maestra de español. So ella es la maestra de español. Let's look at número tres. We are friends. Let's go with nosotros for we, somos for are, and amigos are friends. So nosotros somos amigos. The last one says they, so we'll pick ellos. The correct form of the verb ser would be son, so ellos son. We know from is de, and Madrid stays the same, but Spain changes to España. So ellos son de Madrid, España. If you have additional questions, make sure you see the notes provided on page 37. At this point, you should have filled in your note guide, and you should understand the forms of ser and which ones to use with the subject pronoun. Be prepared to take your flipped mini quiz